Alright, I've moved into perihelion. This is it. And although she's got quite a lot of furniture and other stuff inside of her, what she doesn't have is running water, is lights, power of any kind, no AC power on board, and only half of the stove works, but the oven doesn't work. One of the toilets works, the other one doesn't. We got a lot of work, and I am playing host to my first guest, which of course is my sister, who's coming out in a couple of days. So I have a lot of work to do before she gets here, and I just want to get this boat livable because this isn't quite enough. Step one is this. This is not sustainable. The dishes have been piling up. There's no water to wash them with, and the drains aren't even connected. So we need to get that sorted first. So even though I've already moved out of old dog, I'm actually gonna go sneak back onto her with all of my dirty dishes and run them through the dishwasher because I have a lot of work to do today and I'd rather not spend an hour doing dishes. God, I hope it doesn't take me an hour. Just the world's worst plumber. Okay, so as I'm plumbing in the bathroom, one thing that I'm doing that wasn't done before and is now kind of, I guess, standard issue, although I didn't know because I'm not a plumber, is these straight stop valves. So these little stop valves have a PEX fitting on one side, and then originally they have a compression 3/8 fitting, but it's kind of a standard MPT 3/8, so it will tie on to these little daisy chain doohickeys. And these guys is what I'm using to connect every single faucet, appliance, anything. So at every single appliance on hot and cold, I'm able to shut off the supply with these little dials right here. So if I ever have an issue with a tap or the washing machine or just anything, I can just shut it off from the system, keep pressurizing the system, still be able to use all my sinks and everything else that's still working, except the one that's at the offending number. And that level of control is really nice. I do wish they came in stainless. They probably do. These are just chrome plated steel, so they're probably not going to last forever, but we'll see. Back to the age-old Simon Hates Plumbing game. So I have 3 different tubes here. They're all labeled 1.5 inch. They are all different sizes, and not a single one of them fits this except this one, which also doesn't fit my 1.5 inch drains. I tried getting 1.25, that doesn't fit. And the through-hole is 1 inch to boot, so I gotta get an adapter for that, and nothing fits in anything. So I really like PEX so far, except for that sometimes I find PEX that are labeled 1.5 or 1/2 inch that aren't 1/2 inch. And I don't know what it is with plumbers, but it seems like nobody who's making plumbing equipment has a measuring tape because everything is a different size, just slightly. So this one is like 1 3/8 instead of 1 1/4, and that one is 1 7/16. And like, I know they're supposed to jam together. I've got a heat gun, I've got soap, and they still won't fit together no matter what I do. I just don't know what the hell to do. I mean, I've gone through 7 different hardware stores and chandleries trying to find different barbed fittings that'll fit these. And it's just not working. It's just not gonna work. I don't know, I don't want any solutions.
You're so good for dragging yourself down. Why? Well, there ain't much time left to figure things out. Deeper is all the laser. Your doubts, there's a heart gone out of rhythm in despair. Hell underwater, fine for it.
Okay, so the sink is draining, but we don't have the plumbing working yet because I need to still connect the taps for the aft bathroom and the aft head and the forward head. But one thing I'd like to do before my sister gets here is deal with this. This is kind of embarrassing, but basically I took off the aft deck, took a ton of weight off the back of the boat. Now the whole stern is up in the air a little bit, and what that's doing is causing the bilge not to drain properly. So this water would usually make its way into the lowest part of the bilge and then be pumped overboard. Now, you might be saying, okay, it's just a little bit of bilge water. It's not the end of the world. Actually, what it is the holding tank over there failed. And so the macerator pump started leaking and just leaked all of the contents into my bilge. So yes, if you're wondering, it smells very bad in here right now. I'm not a huge fan of that. And I would love for my sister, who has my back all the time, to not experience my boat smelling like a porta potty. So first things first is I need to fix this floor because the main support that goes down the center has a crack in it, and I just need to glue it up and put some reinforcements on it so that it can properly support the weight of the floor and people stomping around on it, so that it won't sag in the middle. We'll start there, and then we'll worry about shifting weight aft so that the boat will actually drain and clean, and then I can clean all of this bullshit out.
Hotter than it's been in Vancouver. Oh. Honey, no! Come on, baby. Oh, sorry.
The old destroyer of...
Come here.
There we go.
She's falling. Honey, I got you. I got you. Oh, baby. She's so fishy, Smelly. Come here, little fish.
I know my name always to brush her teeth. It's always like that.
You're a little...
Alright, well, we don't quite have running water, but we do have draining water, and that's great. And Sam's here, and we're going to go hang out on Barry and Haley's boat and go have some hot dogs. We didn't get to film this, but I bought some anchor chain from Maya and Aladino when they were through, and it weighed about 1/4 ton. And then as it turns out, it fits Barry's windlass perfectly, and his anchor chain was all messed up. So he bought it off of me, I pulled it off the bow, and suddenly the bilge was dry.
We do have a lot of dogs to get through.
First round.
What's the first round? What's our appetizer? And then
The cockpit on the boat is open.
I'm finally ready to get down to work on my Coltri MCH6 Scuba compressor. So this is what I will use on perihelion to fill my tanks. And the interesting thing I really like about this is that they still make it today. So parts are actually easy to get, considering this is an Italian scuba compressor and it is older than I am. I was surprised to hear that, but yes, you could still get the parts, and yes, it is well worth restoring and getting working again. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's get the party started.
All right.
Okay, so I've got a new power cable that can handle all the crazy wattage that this thing needs to run. Nearly 4 horsepower worth of electricity to run this pump. I've got a test tank right here, and I've now finally wired in a 240 volt split phase socket in my shop. So I'm just going to connect this tank, and I'm sitting it right in front of the fan so that it hopefully passively cools everything. This is a really small system, but air, when compressed this much from 14 psi all the way up to 3000 psi, it generates quite a lot of heat. So we're going to have to keep an eye on the heat buildup in the machine. From what my experience is that this fan spins a lot of air around. It's an air-cooled machine, but that doesn't qualify for the tank and the tubes and everything else, so we'll just have to keep an eye on it. All right, here comes the noise. Okay. Wow, that's noisy. All right, so we just did our first fill tank. The tank itself didn't get very warm, and the tubing was pretty fine. The body of the actual crankcase, once the PSI climbed above 2200 PSI, I started getting blow-by. Now, this compressor has 4 stages, so the air comes in right here at this black little intake filter. We have a large first stage, a second stage, a third stage, and on the bottom, a 4th stage. Now, of course, as the pressure mounts, each stage gets smaller, but it also means that the heat condenses. So the lowest section of the crankcase is actually the hottest, and it reached on top of the crankcase 156 degrees Celsius, which I think might be too high. Either that, or it might also just be blow-by. So we are getting some blow-by coming through the oil. So this is the oil fill cap. And if I just, it's quite hot right now. It might be too hot for me to handle. Too hot to handle. Okay, I can't get that off right now. But it's cooking the paint right off of it. And we're getting blow-by through the tube right here. I don't believe any machine is supposed to operate like that. So I'm thinking either A, it's overheating, or B, I've got bad piston rings and I need to order a new set. It's got double filtration after those 4 stages, and the secondary filtration, the first filtration is getting some oil in it, or some like moisture buildup and other stuff in it, kind of like a milky water with a tiny bit of oil in it. And then the second stage is filtering the last bits of that out. The air is probably fine to consume, although I'm going to go take this tank to the local test spot in Nanaimo and make sure that it's okay. But I also need to find out if this thing needs auxiliary cooling. Maybe I can tap into the oil supply and cool the oil inside with a special radiator that I can bolt onto here, or something. It's not in the original design, but there are a lot of water-cooled versions I see in a lot of other sample scenarios, and this compressor is very old, so you can pretty much guarantee it doesn't have any of the fancy features. So maybe water cooling it, maybe new piston rings, maybe a smaller motor. Maybe this motor is too much power for this thing. It's hard to say. Okay, well, I've done some research and I'm ordering some parts for my Coldtree MCH6. In America, this is also known as a Max Air 35. It's a 3.5 cubic feet per minute Scuba compressor, and they cost like $4 grand. So getting this thing for free and just doing some work to it to make it work, pretty cool. I've also got 2 more chunks of them for parts if I need it down the road. So a really great solution for a sailor. Now, the bigger problem, of course, is that it draws nearly 3,000 watts, and it does have some expendables that I need to go build up. So we're going to order a piston kit because none of these things are water cooled as far as I can tell, and it is most likely blow-by happening on my 4th stage or even 3rd stage. So we're going to rebuild all of the piston rings, and we'll do that soon. I need to add an hour meter so I can keep track of my filters and how many hours they've been in, and do oil changes on a regular basis. And here's my filter. You can see it's already got some gunk in it. There's already quite a bit of condensation that's made its way there with a little bit of oil mixed in. Now, the oil, you might be very worried about me and this oil. Obviously, this is something that scuba people have dealt with for a long time, because you can't go breathe in oil. So this is not your standard oil. This is special. I got a little bit of special scuba compressor oil from the original owner of this thing. It's very expensive, but it is like safer for human consumption. That being said, I wouldn't go breathing a ton of it, so I'm probably also buying some auxiliary filters as soon as I find a setup I like. I also want to add a air intake, because as you can see, the intake is, even though it's filtered, it's right next to the oil drip valve. So when I get blow by, this starts shooting out air with oil in the air, atomized, right next to my air intake. Not an ideal situation. So I doubt very much that my first tank is going to pass the safety test, which I'm going to take it into Nanaimo later today and do. But you know what? It's a journey, and I got to learn all this stuff. And the forums have been pretty useful. There's also a lot of gatekeepy dickheads out there. As you can imagine, it's the internet, and people don't like to share, but that's okay. They don't need to share. I'll just rip this information out of their cold, dead hands. Should be handy for a boat, though. Let's do some more scuba diving. So here I'm diving with Aaron, who's a local freediver, and there's a few advantages to scuba diving over freediving. And in BC, you can actually spearfish while freediving or scuba diving. Now, I like scuba because it lets me sit at deeper depths and really see a lot of the wildlife. It also lets me take my time. I'm a bit slower, of course, but this means that I can kind of measure the fish before I take a shot at them. And plenty of them are undersized, so shooting them is not really something you can undo. So I like to take my time, take my shot, make it clean, and get my dinner. And this beautiful lingcod will fill up my freezer and keep me fed for a while. What a good fish. Happy catch. Now we'll head back down and check out some more of the wildlife and see if we can't fill out a little bit more of our basket. Now we got our ling, but it doesn't mean we didn't get our green ling or our rockfish. And here's an undersized ling. See, they're still really big, but that is definitely undersized. Because I'm scuba diving, I'm sitting at about 60 or 70 feet here, which gives me this amazing visibility. It may not look it on the camera, but I'm able to see pretty far, including a lot of lost crab traps. It's gorgeous down here. It feels like a ballroom. Past 30 feet, the visibility just opens right up, and I am just cruising along, enjoying the view. Of course, I can't help but eye up every single ling that comes passing by. This one also is undersized. Can you believe it? Look at the size of this thing. Anyway, I love my time underwater. It is just so peaceful. See you guys next week. Cheers.